The Judicial Service Commission began its second day of interviews by questioning the experience of the candidates applying for the Competition Appeals Court. The JSC is hoping to fill various vacancies in the country's superior courts. Judge Lister Nuku offered insights on the difficulty black legal practitioners face in getting experience in commercial law. Now, Newzroom Afrika's Govan Whittles has been following the story and joins us now. Govan, very good morning to you. The experience of candidates has been under the spotlight. What did the commissioners say about experience?
Well, they've questioned the experience of Judge Lister Nuku, especially with regards to commercial matters. And the conversation has not only been about how many judgments he's written since being seconded to the Competition Appeals Court in 2022, or which qualifications he's sought to get in commercial law and experience in competition law since showing interest in the field. But it's also revolved around whether or not, as a black legal practitioner, he would have had access to those kinds of matters. In that respect, the answer was quite interesting. Judge Nuku saying that as a black practitioner, he's found that most of the litigation in the Competition Appeals Court is undertaken by big firms who have a preference for companies or legal firms that are dominated by white practitioners, and as such it's been difficult to gain experience as a practitioner. Of course, he undertook several steps to gain more experience through qualifications in the field, but admits that since being at the Competition Appeals Court on a secondment, he's only written 2 judgments. There was an interesting point raised there by the acting president of the competition, or the president of the Competition Appeals Court, regarding how difficult it is to gain experience. But before we get into a conversation about why experience in this field is really important, let's take a look at some of the exchanges that have happened here at the Commission. This one by Commissioner Advocate Tembeka Mukaitobi, questioning Judge Lister Nuku, who's right now a judge in the Western Cape High Court.
If we lose before you, we have no remedy, because the Constitutional Court is not going to accept cases except if they are unique. So you are going to be the final say on these topics. So that's really, I think, what is being tested, is what can you say to us to be satisfied that you are actually a safe pair of hands.
I understand that question, Commissioner Mukaitobi. In answering Chief Justice, I indicated that it is for the Commission to evaluate what I have put in front of it. There is nothing more that I can say more than what my papers demonstrate. If on the basis of that, the feeling is that perhaps it's too early for me to be appointed, I can live with that and continue to act in the Competition Appeal Court if invited. But if the Commission considers my application and thinks that despite my lack of experience, I show good potential which should not be lost, that I can also live with.
Some of the insights in the exchanges here at the Judicial Service Commission's interviews for candidates to fill 5 vacancies at the Competition Appeals Court. Of course, it's been a matter of experience, and let's continue that discussion with Chris Octobi. He's the research consultant for Freedom Under Law. Chris, thank you so much for your time. So this really has been an interview about experience. Why is it so important in this court?
So it's a highly specialized court. It's quite a unique area of law, which, as you've seen from what's been talked about today, a lot of practitioners don't have that experience necessarily, dealing with very important high-level economic matters. The Competition Appeal Court is also almost the final court of appeal. The only avenue of appeal after you get a Competition Appeal Court decision is to go to the Constitutional Court. The Con Court is not necessarily going to take every case. So if someone makes a serious mistake and gets it wrong, there are serious economic repercussions, and there are not necessarily opportunities to correct that on appeal.
In October last year, we saw some concerns being raised that there weren't more black judges applying for positions at the Competition Appeals Court. And Judge Nuku doesn't have much of the experience that it looks like the commissioners were looking for. Do you think that significantly decreases his chances of appointment, or do you think there still will be some consideration here?
I think there will be some consideration, but it is definitely a significant obstacle that he will have to overcome. I think you can see that some of the commissioners are not convinced about the extent of his experience, and it's a very familiar and well-worn problem. That the patterns of work in the legal profession do still seem to mean that a lot of black practitioners are excluded from these areas of work. So this is not a new phenomenon, but unfortunately for individual candidates like him, there's only so much they can do to persuade the Commission that they can overcome that experience gap.
Coming up after the break is Judge Brian Spliff from the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg. Well, Judge Nuku is seen as a very young judge, but Judge Spliff has the opposite problem.
He does indeed have the opposite problem. According to the documents before the Commission, he's only got a year left before retirement. So he's someone with a lot of time in the judiciary, may well have the kind of experience they're looking for, but there'll be a serious question about whether, for such a short period of time, there is value in making that appointment.
Thank you so much, Chris Oxtoby. He is a research consultant from Freedom Under Law. Some insight here on some of the interviews that have taken place. Also coming up later in the day will be interviews for the Judge President position of the Mpumalanga High Court division, as well as for a vacancy in the Northern Cape High Court. We'll bring you some insights as those interviews are conducted. Some of the questions are being posed, but this interview that's just happened was important for so many reasons, and one of them being transformation of the judiciary, and particularly the Competition Appeals Court, which the Judicial Services Commission is convinced needs more black judges to apply for those positions. For now, though, it's back to you.
Absolutely. Let's leave it there for now. Govind Whittle's giving us some insight on how the JSC interviews are panning out this afternoon. And, of course, we will continue to take you there throughout the course of the day.